Hi, I'm Anthony Salvatore Luciano Raimondi, and I'm chatting with Staxx. If you don't like it, start your own podcast. If you like it, press the like button. If not, hey, there's a million and one other podcasts you can look at. There's no big deal.
Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Anthony Luciano Raimondi. What's up,
Hey,
man?
good, Bill. How you doing, buddy?
It's been a while.
Yeah, well, I've been in and out of the hospital. But first, before we go into anything, I want to thank everybody who sent me the well wishes about, me being back and forth in the hospital, all the surgeries I had. I got two more I have to go through, and hopefully that'll be all right. I'll be all right with that, but there's no guarantee on anything. And I also want to thank everybody for the well wishes for my birthday, also, which was on October 12th. I want to thank everybody for that.
Yeah, it's been quite a while. You've been having quite the rocky road, huh?
Between the cancer and everything else, man, it's like taking a toll on me. Like really something. But this is like the first show I'm doing outside of my podcast that I have out with Universal Pictures.
What about your knee? Wasn't your knee messed up too?
They found some cancer in the leg also, in the knee. So we're going to see what happens with that.
So you got some pretty big news. You already let the cat out the bag, but what do you got going on?
I have a podcast out now that was made with Universal Motion Pictures. It's called The Connfessions of Anthony Raimondi. It's free. It's on iTunes, Spotify, and all over. We just won, well, not just one, but we won a gold medal for the podcast. We won, I don't remember exactly what it was for, but I think we got two gold medals for the podcast. I think one was for the sound, and I think the other one was for the story.
That's pretty.
That came out pretty good. I'm going to be getting it now. Universal Movies. Let me explain something. Universal Pictures. They did a background check on me from top to bottom. And everything they found out, they put it in. And then, they had to add a couple of things in there to make it like controversial, But on the next one that they do, everything's going to be out. Now, a lot of guys, like I says, they get jealous, which really getting jealous ain't going to do you nothing. Because at the end, we're all going to wind up in the same thing, either in the ground or in a mausoleum. Let's be serious. A lot of them, they think that they can go in and they're going to get all the information that they can find out, which they can get information, but they don't have the real equipment that Universal Studio has. We're talking about Universal Studios that makes the motion pictures because I'm under contract with them. I'll probably be doing some producing and directing with them in the stories. And we're going to take it off from there, starting a new career. But
so I haven't talked to you in quite a while. What do you think about Joey Merlino coming out and doing a podcast?
I'll be honest, I really haven't been on the internet to hear anything about Joey Merlino or anything because I've been in and out of the hospital. And the only one I spoke to was you, and that was over the phone every time I was in the hospital.
So he's out. It's been almost a year he's been out.
Well, listen, if he's doing a podcast and, nobody's getting into trouble, hey, more power to him. Like, see, with my podcast and everything I've done, like I said, which people don't understand. One, I never ratted on anybody. I never signed a proffer. I never testified against anybody. I never wore a wire, never gave up anybody's names, nothing. In my book, yes, I put a lot of guys that have passed away because they cannot get into any trouble. The only one who could have trouble would be me. Let's put it that way. I wouldn't put my friends and jeopardize them in trouble. And some of them have passed away in the prison. Some of them are still around doing 100 years plus life. And some guys I know, they went into the witness protection program for, they didn't want to face doing the time that they had to do. So, I mean, there's nothing you can say about that. But with my podcast, it's like, it's a podcast that I've done. Universal Pictures likes it. And fine. Now, everybody else who has their podcasts on YouTube, that's fine or well and good. I mean, I got nothing against anybody. But when they start talking about me and they can't do the exact homework the way Universal does. Now, you could do, let's say, you can get so much information, let's say. Doesn't mean it's true or not. When Universal does it, they're getting everything that's right and that's true. But the way they did the podcast, they made it controversial. That you can say, oh, he didn't do this. Oh, but maybe he didn't do that, but he did this, he did that. But there's going to be a part two to this podcast where they're going to come out and say, well, in podcast number one, this, that, whatever, this came out, this came out, this came out, this is true, that's true, that's true. It's going to go back and forth. The whole thing
is it video or audio? Like, what is it?
Audio.
It's just audio.
Audio. Now, there's 8 episodes. Now, see, with the movie companies, the way they go, they get you, they do a podcast. Now they get you interested and they say, well, it could be this, it could be that, it could be everything else. Now they hit you with number 2, second podcast, and then that says all this that we discussed in podcast number 1 that we said we didn't know about, it's all true, because that's how they get you to come in to listen. You follow what I'm saying?
So they explain it. They explain exactly what happened in one.
The first one is to get them to come in and listen, and then the second one tells them, yes, everything that was in part 1 was true. So it pulls the people in more to listen. It'll probably be 8 episodes also, just like the first one was.
Are they planning on doing any video along with it?
The video I'm not sure of, but I'm going to be getting into doing some directing and producing with them on certain shows that they're going to do. And I'm not at liberty to say right now, but I told you exactly what's going on. Because I know you keep it the way it is. But they have a whole big thing scheduled that they're going to do. I mean, they went out let's put it this way. This podcast cost them millions of dollars to make, and they won 2 gold medals. One was for, I think, the audio, and I think, I'm not 100% sure, but the other one was for the movie. I'm sorry, not the movie. Excuse me. One was for the audio, and I think the other one was for the story or the design of it or something like that. Now, that's a lot. In the world of podcasting, when you make 2 gold medals, that's a lot. That's like when you go to the movies and they get the Academy Award.
Yeah.
It's like equal to that. Let's put it that way.
Hey, you never know in the future, right? Could win an Emmy or something like that.
I don't know about winning an Emmy, but we got to see what happens next year when the podcast comes out, when they put it up. But there's a lot of things that are in the works that are being talked about in the works for other shows and everything like that. But we're talking about like a full-length feature show, and stuff like that.
Has there been any crazy situations happen to you since the last time I talked to you in the last year?
Oh,
Any crazy things happen you could tell me about?
No, nothing. Just like with the cancer and everything with the heart going back and forth. Really, that's about it. And naturally, like I did the podcast. But what amazes me sometimes? People send you a text. Now, follow what I'm going to tell you. They send you a text with a telephone number, and they make threats to you, and they put people's names in there that they shouldn't. And then naturally, it's usually a burner phone. But what they fail to realize is that my lawyers, my manager, my booking agent, and all them, they're always checking my emails and my texts for everything. And if the people really knew better, all right, you don't know if law enforcement's checking it. I mean, I don't know if law enforcement's checking it. Nobody does. But when you start sending texts and putting certain people's names in, like some people did already, I mean, you're going to get these people in trouble for nothing. Now, and they probably don't even know. So they say, oh, we used a burner phone. A burner phone can be traced, let me tell you. It can be traced to where it was bought. It could be traced to who used it. It could be pinged off or whatever to find out where it came from or whatever. And certain names that these people were throwing out, all right, I'm 100% positive. Let me put it this way. I'm 1,000% positive that the people's names that they were using had no idea that these people are using their names. And, if worse comes to anything, they can and if they keep doing it, these people are going to wind up getting into trouble because these other people start talking about you on the internet and saying things they shouldn't say.
Hey, the internet makes people do some wild stuff.
It would be like, let's put it this way. It would be like, let's say, I send you a text, and I'm telling you, say, I'm just going to use, like, say, Joey Molino's name, which I don't know the man, but just say Joey Molino. Joey Molino's going to do this to you. Joey Molino's going to kill you. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. And it's on a text, and it's on a burner phone. So now your booking agent, your manager, your lawyers, they always, what's that word I'm talking about? They always check your emails and your texts and everything. Okay. Now they're going to see something like this. And what are they going to do? They're going to have it traced and do everything they can do. Meanwhile, Joey Molino knows nothing about what, let's say, I'm saying to you. And this poor guy could wind up getting a problem over nothing. And he could say, what the hell are you talking about?
It reminds me of this guy. It reminds me of a guy who reached out to Joey Molino claiming to be Michael Francese's lawyer, and it wasn't. And he said, "Oh, I'm reaching out to you on behalf of Michael Francese. I'm his lawyer." Michael Francese came out and said, "That guy's not my lawyer." So it reminds me of that situation.
No, but the people, like I'm saying, the things that we're talking about is, I'm not going to mention any of these people's names, but they were mentioned in a text.
Yeah, now, I understand what you're saying. It's like they're putting other people in it that have nothing to do with
now,
it.
these people have no idea what was being said about them. Okay?
Yeah.
They have no idea what was being said about them. So some idiot moron is using their name. So now when they're checking all my emails and everything like that and my texts, this shows up because the lawyers have to always check my emails. My booking agent has to check it. My manager has to check it. Could they make, they tell me, don't reply to this, don't reply to that. Naturally, a lot of them I didn't reply to. And then you have, like, one idiot sent me a thing saying, what did he say? He goes, "Oh, we'll pay you $5,000 for an interview." No, I didn't bother. I didn't even answer him. Then they turned around and they says, "We spoke to Barry from Coney Island, and he said he extorted you in the day." I didn't even answer them because that's somebody that's just trying to start trouble. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The guy never extorted me, and the guy's a friend of mine. Let me put it that way. The guy's a friend of mine. But certain people, they got to do something or anything or whatever you want to call it just to start trouble. And that, to me, that's ridiculous. Like I says, everybody in my book is passed away.
Can you tell me a story? Can you tell me a story from your book or something? Maybe one of the last times you maybe saw your cousin Mack, or one of the last times you were involved with something on the street. Can you explain the situation? People want to hear that from you.
Last time I saw my cousin Mack, he came home from prison. And, he was, he was only 70 years old, but he had gotten sick. And then I'm on all types of medication. But he was still active. He was, still going around and doing what he was doing. And I was traveling with him every day. There was no problem. And then what happened, he got a violation. He was he was at a place that he was outside of a club saying hello to some guys that he knew. And I came across and I said, "Matt, get in the car." I says, "You can't be talking over here." I said, "Because they're going to violate you." But P.S., the detectives come, the cops come, grab everybody, take their information down. And when they punched my cousin's name up, they seen he was on parole and he got in touch with the parole officer. So I says to him, I says, "Listen, tell the PO that you were with me because we had permission that we could be together because he was like a father to me." I says, "And tell them that I went across the street to get a sandwich. You've seen these guys. They said hello to you, and you just got out to say hello to them." Well, before he could do that, they violated him the next day. They sent him back to prison. And they were shipping him around. And from the story that we got is that the feds never gave him his medicine that he was supposed to get, and he passed away. And when he passed away in the prison, they shipped his body in, and it was me and my cousin John that we picked him up because my cousin John had passed away. Now he was a funeral director and everything. We picked my cousin's body up, and they had done a up autopsy on him. They done. Let me put it to you that way. That the government done. It was like a butcher job because when they do an autopsy on you, they put this plastic thing. It's like a plastic suit that you go inside of. They didn't do his head, but they did his body, and it was a fucking mess because when we went to open up the suit, the plastic suit as I call it, to get the regular clothes on him, it was a total mess. I mean, it's like they fucked up all the way around the board. We had him laid out in a funeral parlor that's not around anymore. It was called Prospero's. A lot of people came to see him and pay their respects and everything. And then he got cremated. He got cremated, and that was it.
They don't embalm him when they do the autopsy in the prison. They don't embalm him, right? They wait until he goes to the funeral.
Well, they have to put some embalming fluid into him because you don't know how long he's going to be, and then they got to ship him in. But what my cousin John done, put, how do you say, like when my cousin John re-embalmed him, let me put it to you that way, because he made sure, because all the incisions that they made were leaking. So my cousin John sealed them all up and re-embalmed them again. I mean, unfortunately, this is what happened. This is what happened with my cousin. I mean, there's so many things with him that was like, unreal.
Where's he buried? Did they bury him in a?
He's he's with his wife in St. John Cemetery.
You saw I went to St. John Cemetery. You seen that, right?
Yeah. But his wife's name is on the grave. For whatever the reason is, his name ain't on, but he was cremated, and they put the urn with his ashes in it in the coffin with his wife Rosie. They put it in there, and that's in St. John Cemetery that they're at.
I spent the whole day there. I got a lot of footage in St. John Cemetery. I went to John Gotti's grave. All kinds of different people.
That's like
Carmine Lombardozzi. Did you know him?
Sure, I knew Carmine Lombardozzi. Sure.
I
got a whole story about me and him in book 2 that's going to be coming out with the Shylock business when we had it. We were Shylocking all the clubs in Manhattan. That I had gotten it to a friend of mine, and it got to the point where I needed help, and because it was all too heavy coming down. So a friend of mine set up a meeting. I saw Carmine Lombardozzi. We talked about it, and he was right there. He was right there running the business, telling me, Anthony, do it this way, do it that way. Take this here, take that there. The man was a master genius in the Shylock business. A genius to no end.
So there was tons of different people I came across. Roy DeMeo, you have any dealings with him?
No, I never met Roy DeMeo. The only thing I heard about Roy DeMeo was that he was a insane killer and that his own people whacked him. That's the only thing I heard.
What about?
I never met the guy. Never met him.
Vito Genovese.
Well, I was only a kid when he died, so I don't have that much of a recollection with him.
What about Joe Colombo?
Yeah, Joe Colombo. I was 17 when Joe Colombo died. Yes, I knew Joe Colombo.
Well, he was in a vegetated state, right? He wasn't dead.
But I knew Joe Colombo before he got shot. So I knew him before he got shot. When my cousin used to bring me down to the Diplomat, and then we used to go to Monty's, and he would come down there to eat, and that's how they introduced me. But he knew my father. When they asked who I was, they told him it was Frankie Ray's son, Anthony. He said, Joe Colombo said, no problem. He said, the kid's got no problem over here. He goes, bring him down every time you want. And that's how I got my start.
Well, Anil Delacroce.
Anil, he passed away now anyway, but he was related to my mother's father, my grandfather, Frank. He was a cousin to him, like the second or third cousin to him. And Frank Costello was my grandfather's cousin also on my mother's side. My grandfather on my mother's side, because my grandfather had changed his real name. I forgot their real name, what it was, because they're so used to calling him Costello. I forgot what their real name was. But they would come down looking for, I called him Uncle Frank because he was older than me, but he was a cousin to my grandfather and to my father and everything. And they would go and grab my grandfather. Now, my grandfather was only like about 5 feet. He was only about 5 feet 2 inches tall, 5 feet four. My grandfather was. Now, Uncle Frank, as I called him, the guy was like 6 foot two. So what my grandfather done, he took the name and he changed it over to Casa because they had cousins with the name Casa. I can't remember the name. Oh God, I can't remember the real last name because he had changed it to Costello when he came to the United States because they had cousins back in Italy with the name Costello. My grandfather took the same name as him, and my grandfather was involved in a lot of stuff. But then when it all started coming down, he changed his last name or the whole family's last name to Casa because we have cousins in Italy with the name Casa. Yeah, it's gonna drive me nuts. I can't think of Frank's I'll be a son of a. I can't think of the last name. It's been so many years because you get so used to calling somebody by a certain name. After a while, you forget. You start to forget certain real names and stuff.
Do you remember when Costello's tomb got blown up?